interesting because, I'm in the technology market now. I was in sports before, so it's like you can have really good phases and you can have some real downtimes, right? Like a
Yeah.
string of hot streaks, streak of wins, a streak of losses. It's obviously the roller coaster is difficult, and but what do you say to that? I mean, my perspective is it's all about making sure that you're looking at what you're doing. Are you, how's your process? Are you doing everything that you can? I mean, sometimes it's unlucky. Sometimes it's, don't worry, it's going to turn around at some point. Like if you're doing the right things and focus on the right things, it's going to come around.
Right.
But what do you say to
Yeah.
someone who's like,
Yeah.
I'm,
So,
yeah,
so two things. I think when we are talking outcomes, everything occurs on a bell curve. Okay. So just sometimes, and you could Google it right now, right? So bell curve, and it's something like 2.5% of the time, you're just going to absolutely just stink it up. I don't care how hard you try, you're just going to stink it up. Statistically, it has to happen. And another 2.5% of the time, you're going to be lighting it up, and no matter what you do, the deal closes.
right.
It's just chance,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then it comes back into, okay, then you're kind of like below average, and then the same above average. And then the majority of our time, we're kind of up the middle and just kind of cruising and just doing okay. So I think we just have to appreciate that over the course of a career, even over the course of a month or a day, that you're probably going to touch all of those. And again, can you really just be okay with that, right? So from an outcome perspective, I think we just have to just embrace that this is just the reality, right? Just total acceptance of this is how it's going to go. And
Embrace
then,
failure. That's hard, man.
yeah, no, it is. Of course it is, right? But then I think it's also, what are our goals based around? And this was also something I think, in my philosophy, I go so deep process and try and clarify process, because the bottom line is very clear. It's shiny. It's something that everyone is pointing at, yet it doesn't help our day-to-day performance. It's actually a distraction.
Right.
So what is the process, right, of really when I am just giving my best day to day? What does that really look like? And back to this, I think a lot of high performers also tend to over try, and being aware of that too, right? So what is just the sweet spot of where I am appropriately connecting with people? I'm pushing myself to an appropriate level and letting go of the stuff that I need to let go of. And can we really measure the success of our days around that, rather than just the number of deals I closed, or whatever other outcomes might be out there? But I know personally, and the research says, right, is you're going to sleep a lot better, and you're just going to live a much more fulfilling life if you're more in that process place.
Right. It almost goes back to just the saying, like the results will come, right? It's almost like when you're developing, when I was working and coaching junior athletes, it's like you need to be doing the right things and setting the right foundations, or the results, the wins, that will all come. But it won't come if you're just looking at that bottom line,
Yeah.
or just putting band-aids on the ways you're behaving during the day, right? If it was, bad technique on the tennis court or golf course, just to make sure that you could go out to that tournament and win, right? No, it's about setting the right foundation, doing the right things. The results will come.
And that's a big piece I talk about in any of my intake sessions.
Yeah.
Is 5 years from now, where are you? And it's not as much of, I want to know how clear their outcome is in their head, but I do want to know that someone's truly going to be in this for 5 years, because time is a gift, right? If you can continue to really just hone on in this process and really dial in and value the same things day to day, regardless of the outcomes you're getting, and do that for day after day, month after month, year after year, Christian, you're never going to get worse. And you're not going to plateau for all that long either, if you stay curious and engaged, right? So just then the question just becomes, how long are you willing to give it?
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, so we have a lot of people now, leaders, just people like myself, at home, having to deal with kids. I know you're now having to be at home with the kids all day. And I was always fascinated in kind of the parent-kid relationship when I was coaching and seeing it firsthand, and seeing what relationships looked like, and how that even could affect kids on the court or the field. But what I don't know, how are people at home? How are they managing that? How are you managing, being with your kids all day? And it's almost a form of leadership, isn't it?
It absolutely is, and I love that you equate it to that. That's how I see it, right? So Luca, we have a 5-year-old here with us at home, and my wife Lynn and I have been fortunate that for the past really 5 years since his birth, we've both actually owned our own companies and worked from home.
Okay.
So we've had to learn how to work from home. Fortunately, he's been at a great daycare preschool for the past couple of years, and we love it, right? So that's the only real big difference for us now, is he's home. But I value that. Like, to me, this is also an important part of my day, is to connect with my son and be with him, and same for Lynn. So for me, it's not a burden, and I look forward to that. And we just make sure we schedule our days appropriately around that. And this is kind of to your point of leadership, right? To me, it's about really good parenting. Really good leadership is about, what are our values? What does that look like? And that's all we're trying to do with our son. And then we show him, yes, I would love to be playing with him. He would love to be playing with me when I'm on a call. But we're trying to build this community at home of, hey, son, we're helpers. This is what we do. So I'm going on this call so that I can help someone else. And just teach him that this is, whether it's him at preschool or us at work, the whole idea is, as long as we're helping others, we're in a really good spot. Yeah. And at his age, this is the message that we're trying to send. And I think through this lens, right, of as I develop him, and as you well know, right, all the young athletes that we have seen develop over the years, and how parents are the beacon. Like, they really do shape the entire environment that's created. And if we really can stay true to our values that hopefully aren't just outcome focused, you're really in a decent spot. So again, like, to us, right, we value helping others, we value connecting with people, and it might look different in the sport world and the business world, but as long as he knows, and as long as the people that I'm leading know this is what's important, and then we start shaping what it looks like, we're in the sweet spot.
Right. Yeah, that's really valuable insight, I think, for a lot of people. So is the outcomes a really big part of what a healthy parent-child relationship looks like? Not even like on the field or court, because we see very contentious, high-level athletes with overbearing parents, all kinds of dynamics. Like, what do the best relationships look like to foster their kids' growth in the best way, I guess?
Yeah. So I think also people have gone too far the other way and been honestly too soft with their children as well, right? So there's a great book that's out. I'm going to probably blank on the name here.
I can leave a link for it once you remember it.
There you go. But essentially it's this idea that, like, we are taking the challenge out of our children's lives, and that's something that's actually holding them back. Coddling of the American mind. That's what.
Okay. I think
coddling of the American mind. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. And it's this idea that people are taking the challenge out of their children's lives, and that's actually hurting them in high school and especially in college, right? So the whole idea was that counseling centers are filled in college because kids don't know how to overcome a challenge and face a challenge and deal with adversity because their parents had taken that away from them. So I think it's important to challenge our children, and challenge people that are working for us, right? Like, if you're a leader and you're not challenging your people, you're actually doing them a disservice. They are not going to grow or stretch or learn. But also to be that safety net and to support at the same time. Right. So we try to be very intentional with our son of, and again, he's 5, right? But the whole idea of, as long as your intentions are in the right place, go for it. And if you're going to mess up, we're going to catch you. Now, if it was just a dumb decision, that it was just a hasty, just just a poor choice, I'm going to get on you for that. And we kind of have to be
Right.
okay with that, right? And I think
Yeah.
like this is leadership, this is parenting, and this is it. It's like, can we appropriately challenge and support? And this is what a great teammate does for you too. It's the same exact ideas. Yeah, and to me, like this is also right. What philosophy says is this is the ultimate form of friendship as well. So in any relationship, can we push each other and support each other? And if we're doing those two things effectively, we're probably in a great spot.
I love that. I really do. That's awesome. All right. So last question here is what, you're talking to leaders and also people like myself who are on teams and have leaders, right? And we're, I don't want to talk too much about the current COVID pandemic, but the nature of it all is people are, perhaps not going to be doing as well as they did last year. They're going to be facing some challenging times. What do you tell someone like myself? Do you someone like me, for example, you know, uh, what would be a couple keys to compete, if you will, during this time to kind of keep my spirits up and keep myself focused on the right things moving forward?
Sure. So I think first off, right, basic human needs. Christian, are you eating? Do you have food on the table? Right? Like, and this is real, right? Like, do you have food on the table? Do you have a place to sleep? You know, that's critical, right?
Very
Like,
important.
and we need to make sure we take care of that stuff first, right? Then I think secondary is really just, are you connected with the people that you want to stay connected with? Um, it's a bit grotesque, but the worst punishment that our U.S. government can put on someone is solitary confinement. So to be in jail and alone in a cell all day long without human interaction, that's suffering. So just the fact of, if you have food on the table, you have a place to stay, and if you're staying connected with people, you're probably fine. And I think like that's just such a core idea, and just how important our connections are. And I think the best of the best in a high level way, right? So not just talking survival, but also in a thriving situation, are creating new ways to connect with people. So, again, Zoom. I feel like a bunch of my clients that I'm talking to, they're just on Zoom all day, every day.
Right.
Let's find different ways to connect. And yeah, I get it. So the Zoom happy hour, that's nice. But how about even just old fashioned snail mail or an
Yeah.
email, or, I don't know, just what are different ways just to interact with people? One of my leaders who I work with, one of her teams had just closed a big deal. And in a previous conversation, they had been talking about, was this specific shoe brand
Hmm.
um, that they all really kind of liked, right? And this was a big deal that they closed. She somehow found the shoe sizes, and maybe it was in part of their previous conversation. I didn't get into the details of it, but she sent her entire team a pair of these shoes.
Wow.
How cool is that, right? Just a new, genuine way to stay connected and just let people know that I'm actually thinking about you and your reality, right? I think this is also a big part of right now, is people are tending to look at themselves and be a little more selfish. And the best of the best are the people who are actually taking perspective of others
Hmm.
and trying to look at through their lens, what are their needs, and meet their needs. So to me, right, there's the surviving and then there's the thriving. And the thrivers are the ones who are just really finding new ways to connect and meet other people's needs.
Right. Yeah, and that goes for clients and being in the sales world, like everyone's on the Zoom or the emails, like let's get a little more personal, right? Let's revert back to something like snail mail. That's a great idea. Sending I have someone on another team here that sent a book that he thought was really valuable, and he's like, here, like this, I thought you'd really enjoy this book. Like, when's the last time you got a book sent to you by someone in the mail saying, hey, I think you'd really like this? Type.
Right. And it just lets them know like they're actually thinking about me in an authentic, genuine way.
Right.
And that means something, right? Talk about just this idea of how can we be better day to day in this world. Well, if someone's thinking of me and letting me know that, that brightens my day. I don't know about yours.
Yeah, it does. For sure. Matt, this is, I think, has given me, even, every conversation I think ends up being like this anyway with you, and I always leave with good insight and new perspective. And I think we all got some good keys to compete as well. I always think about that. So
Yeah, you remember the old question, right? Right before athletes go on the court, what's your key to competing?
I actually remember one time downhill and before a big match, you texted me, "What are your keys?" I was like, "Oh man, I got a huge match. They're really good." And you're like, "What are your keys to compete?" Meanwhile, I'm like 25 years old, and my days of competing are close to over. And I told you, I gave you a couple. That
Yeah,
match ended up being the best match I had played, I think, in 3 years.
no question, right?
Um,
Because your answer was very process focused, right? And it was, hey, as long as I take care of this, I'm in a golden spot.
yep, I gave you
So,
two
yep,
things, and I was just like, at the end, I was like, "Well, I just zoned that match."
there you go.
I don't know
That's
if
it.
zoning's technically a thing, but I'm gonna go with it. Uh, all right, Matt. Thanks so much. I think this definitely won't be the last time we talk,
Cool.
and I look forward to the next ones. And really good luck. I'll leave some links for people on this video so they can come and find you and follow you. I know you're always posting good content out there.
Appreciate it, Christian. You're the best, man. Great to reconnect.
All right, awesome. Talk to you soon.
All right, be well.
Bye.